Good afternoon. So what to do if you are feeling overwhelmed? And overwhelm is something that I think we all have felt at times, and it's definitely a subjective thing. Like when we are more tired, we do less self-care. Generally, we'll probably have more feelings of overwhelm, which is interesting, isn't it? Because then we're probably less likely to prioritize self-care. But I want to make this quite kind of practical. So the next 3 to 5 minutes, I'm just going to go over kind of a few ways to kind of get out of overwhelm and help us understand it more, because as I always say, it's about reflection and awareness rather than just simply tactics to kind of get through the next moment. So let's kind of take a bit of a step back with this. So if we think about overwhelm when it normally happens, it can be when we start something new, it can be when things start piling up, but often it's when we start falling behind. Okay, or we rather feel like we're falling behind. Give me a hello if you're coming in. Let me know if you're on replay. So if you're feeling like you're falling behind, you can be overwhelmed. When the interesting part of this is we feel like we're behind compared to someone else. We're only feeling like we're behind because we're comparing ourselves to someone else. And we see this a lot. Like, people can come into a program or start something and they see someone else do something and they think they should be doing that. And on one hand, it can be quite inspiring to see that, but on another hand, if we interpret it perhaps the wrong way or feel like we have too much urgency, then that can actually backfire in that we feel like we're behind now, so there's no point. So then what do we do? Well, then it comes down to prioritizing, and something that we've been doing recently with our team as well is actually getting a bit of priorities. And I say priorities lightly because not everything is a priority. If you rate everything out of 10, not everything can be a 10 out of 10 for how high a priority it is. The key thing is that what you value most will be your highest priority. And then what we've got to do is break this down into a bit smaller steps. And yes, it's easier said than done. Like, I too get massively overwhelmed at times. Like, writing and delivering comfort eating course, our food freedom course, is overwhelming to think that I've got to do a whole program, which is, let's face it, is going to take 6 to 8 weeks at least to really get someone to go from A to B with regards to comfort eating and beyond, if I'm honest. But the key thing with regarding to this is when I'm putting together the program, I can sit there and go, blimey, I've got to do the whole thing and I'll just put it off, or I can break it down. Okay, let me just write the first step. All of a sudden it's doable. All of a sudden it's in the diary to do. All of a sudden I'm feeling more confident about doing it. All of a sudden I've written 2 pages, 3 pages. All of a sudden I've done it. And now it's a case of, well, okay, that kind of escalated. And because I've broken it down to a small step. Because overwhelm is often misinterpreted as well. It's misinterpreted as something that is essentially fear. Like the fear of maybe not doing something right. And when we think about it, it's fear, you can false evidence appearing real, if you like. Overwhelm isn't a real fear. You could argue it's actually just perhaps mismanagement of what's in our head right now, what we think is important. Is anything that right now a life or death situation, go back to public speaking. They say death by PowerPoint, don't they? Like, people have real big nerves of public speaking. That was me too, but when I think about it, that was just a real poor mismanagement of what fear was for me. Like, hey Joss, which is interesting, right? So how can you break it down today? Pick one priority, make it as small as possible, whether it's a 1-minute workout, a 5-minute workout, if it's the exercise side of things, whether it's getting 1 page done, whether it's getting 1 line done, just do it. Because when you're doing, you're not anxious, you're not fearing anything. That's always going to be the key thing with this. And what if overwhelm was actually one of the emotions that is needed for breakthroughs, for change, for transformation? What if? Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Off to the post to post our meal plan books and Kickstart books for people who are just getting started with the Kickstart, and also who have got our new meal plan book. So I'll see you soon. Take care.